Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2017 annual special town meeting and annual town meeting. The town clerk has informed me that we have a quorum. So a quorum being present, this special town meeting shall now come to order. We have a return of the warrant by Constable Gerald Loomis. I would entertain a motion to adjourn so that we may open the annual town meeting. Motion? Second. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. A quorum being present, this annual town meeting shall now come to order. We have a return of the warrant by Constable Gerald Loomis. As required by Massachusetts law, the Chief of the Fire Department, Scott Duffy, asked that I point out the exits from the auditorium in case of an emergency, which are the two down front and the two that you came in. I will now call on Veterans Agent Tony Materna to lead us in a salute to the flag. Would everyone please stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. Please remain standing. I'm sorry. Got to get a little exercise while we're here. I'd ask that Reverend James Hickey of the Holy Family Church to come forward and give the invocation. Reverend Hickey.
In the name of God, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord God, at the dawn of this nation in 1620, off the coast of Plymouth, a group of people who would be the first Americans decided that they would self-govern, that they would lead themselves by the guidance of your Spirit. And down to this moment, in this town in Massachusetts, we have that dignity of being a people who are able to lead themselves, to elect their own officials, and to make their own decisions. How good you are to us. Bless this meeting and bless all who come. May we find truth by the guidance of your Spirit, and may we follow it. And when we disagree, may we disagree with love and care for one another. May your blessing come upon us and stay with us through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, Father Hickey, for coming out tonight. Now we will have a moment of silence as I read the deceased town officials. Richard A. Aiken, Susan E. Bailey, Robert Covey Sr., Beverly M. Fader, Dorothy E. Folsom, Alfred A. Giannotti, Jane M. Miller, Ernest J. Hogan, Patricia A. Isaac, Thomas F. Long, Beverly A. Mahoney, Andrew Lawrence McCarthy III, Carol A. Murphy, Ellen K. Partridge, Peter P. Stonis, Elizabeth Edna Taylor, Charles Kimball Jr., Michael H. Downing, James J. Monahan, Patricia A. Chaponis, and Lisa Wright Murphy. Thank you. The special town meeting and the annual town meeting are being videotaped by WRPS. I would ask all non-registered voters must sit in the front rows in the section to my left. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight for taking time. It's so important that we can get the business of the town done so that we can operate for the next fiscal year beginning July 1st. I know everybody's schedules are tight these days, but I appreciate you coming out. As you know, Article 29 of the 2013 annual town meeting reduced the quorum to open a town meeting to 150 registered voters, with only 50 registered voters need to be present at this session or any adjourned session, which was approved by the Attorney General on July 26, 2013. If you wish to speak on an article, please raise your hand. When I recognize you, please come down to one of the microphones in the front. State your name and address before speaking. Each speaker will be allowed up to 5 minutes when speaking on a budget item or article which is being acted upon. No speaker who has previously spoken on the same budget item or article will be recognized until all others who wish to speak have had their opportunity. Now I'd like to introduce the people on the stage. To my left, our Town Clerk, Donna Shotall, our Assistant Town Clerk, Victoria Dybell, our Town Accountant, Eric Hart, our Town Administrator, Alan Chalker, and our Town Council, Attorney John Clifford. Also in the audience tonight is State Senator John Keenan. John, are you here? Whereabouts are you? Are you hiding? Way back. Good evening, John. Thank you for coming. Now I'd like to introduce the newly elected officials and hold your applause until the end. The annual town election, which took place on April 8th. Board of Selectmen, Deidre Hall and Michael O'Laughlin. Board of Assessors, incumbent Dennis Robson. Board of Health, incumbent Victoria Dybell. Board of Health, Scott Margolis. Board of Library Trustees, incumbents Cora Lenardi and Kenneth Zabzewski, if I said that right, I hope I did. Board of Park Commissioner, incumbent Stephen Murphy. Board of Sewer Commissioners, Charles Hessian. Board of Water Commissioners, incumbent William Lowe. Housing Authority, incumbent Dr. John Rogers. Housing Authority, John Davis. Planning Board, incumbent Michael Corbett. Planning Board, Charles Williams III. And School Committee, Michael Garofalo. Thank you for helping to take part in our town. Now I'd like to introduce two committees. It's always been the Finance Committee, but we've never introduced the Capital Planning Committee, which is just as important a part of it. The citizens, we should be all proud of the hard work this Finance Committee has done to prepare the budget and the articles prior to this town meeting, so the voters have the correct and concise information as we progress through town meeting. The members of the Capital Planning Committee review articles for capital expenditures over $50,000 and have a useful life for at least 5 years with an inclusion in a 5-year capital improvement plan. Having this plan has helped pave the way to improve the financial rating and bonding status for the town. The Finance Committee, along with the Town Accountant Eric Hart, the Town Administrator Alan Chalker, and all the department heads, work on a daily and weekly basis for the best interest of the entire town. Now I would like to hold your applause until I introduce them all, and I would like them to please stand. The Finance Committee, William Allen, Chairman. Jesse McSweeney, Vice Chairman. Julia Schaefer, Secretary. Richard Dunham. Robert McDonald. Jamie Potter, who is not here tonight. Richard Penny. William Principe. Mark Pulsifer. John Pumphrey. William Stewart. And the last two members of the Finance Committee, Joseph Gambone, who also serves as the chairman of the Capital Planning Committee, and Finance Committee member Ken Tocci also serves a dual role as part of the Capital Planning Committee. And the other members of the Capital Planning Committee are Lauren Hanson, Richard Harris, Brian Hughes, and Douglas Wallow. They deserve a great round of applause for the volunteer work they do. I would now ask my tellers to come forward so I may swear them in. The three tellers are Mary Ryan, Peter McDermott, and Nancy Crowley. Now I would call on the Finance Committee Chairman, William Allen, to speak about this year's town meeting.
Good evening. My name is William Allen, and I am the chairman of the Finance Committee. This evening, we will be voting on the articles of the special town meeting warrant, as well as for fiscal year 2017, and the articles in the annual town warrant for fiscal 18. We, as a committee, have reviewed all the departmental budgets and have tried to allocate all of our available resources in a prudent fashion, and have consistently funded capital improvement needs primarily using free cash, funds received from the host community agreement, and other funding sources. As in the past years, we will continue planning for future capital improvement needs through the investment into a stabilization fund. To that end, we will once again put before you a request to set aside $675,000 from available free cash into this fund. This investment will increase the accumulated balance to $1,596,572. This represents 2.6% of our FY 2018 operational budget, still short of our established goal of 3%, but within earshot of this important benchmark. I want to thank the Board of Selectmen, Town Administrator Alan Chalker, Town Accountant Eric Hart, and all the department heads in the audience for your assistance in creating this budget. It is because of your continued leadership and dedication of your staff that the town is in such a sound fiscal condition. Because of this and your cooperation during the budgeting process, the job of the Finance Committee has become much easier. I would also like to thank Michael Laughlin, our former chairman, and all the members of the Finance Committee for your volunteerism and selfless commitment. Your time and contributions to this committee on a weekly basis are the foundation for the creation of this year's warrant. While we do not necessarily always agree, our debates consistently remain focused on creating a warrant that has the best interests of the town and its residents in mind. Lastly, and most importantly, I'd like to thank the residents of the town of Rockland for your continued support and your participation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I would now entertain a motion to adjourn the annual town meeting for the purpose of returning to the special town meeting. Second? All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. The quorum being present, I will now call the special town meeting to order. Chairman Allen.
I'd like to make a motion that the first action on each article be on the Finance Committee recommendation.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the article signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote.
I'd also like to make a motion to take all articles in order in which they are printed.
Motion and a second to take the articles in order in the special town meeting. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Please turn to page number 6 in the warrant for the special town meeting. Article number 1. This is an unpaid bill. It's going to require at least a 9/10 vote. I'd like to have a unanimous. Would the town vote to transfer from available funds for an unpaid bill of $23,549.24 or taken any other action relative thereto? The emergency, it has to pay a bill from CMAS Partnership, which was received in fiscal year 2016, submitted by the Board of Health. The Finance Committee recommends to take it from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 1 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's unanimous. Article number 2, will the town vote to create a health insurance trust fund pursuant to General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 3A, and to fund said trust fund to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds the sum of $750,000 or take any other action relative thereto. The emergency was the town has canceled its contract with Mayflower Municipal Health and requires funding to start its own health insurance transit. At a meeting on April 26, Finance Committee meeting, the Finance Committee voted that this article was to be passed over. All those in favor of passing over Article number 2 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article number 3. The original article printed. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money to the stabilization fund or take any other action relative thereto? The emergency transferring to the stabilization within the current year improves our financial position. Mr. Allen.
Yes. At the April, I'd like to make a motion to amend that article.
Okay.
As written. At the April 26 Finance Committee meeting, the original recommendation of Article 3 by the Finance Committee was revisited and is amended as follows. The Finance Committee recommends transferring $80,000 from overlay surplus, $370,000 from health insurance, and $225,000 from free cash for a total of $675,000 to the stabilization fund.
I have a motion and a second to change the original figure. The original figure was $636,000 plus. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting the amendment signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. All those in favor of adopting Article 3 as amended for $675,000 to the stabilization fund signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 4, will the town vote to transfer the sum of $300,000 from free cash to the school department budget to partially fund unanticipated special education costs or take any other action relative thereto, because the emergency unanticipated special education costs. The Finance Committee recommends transferring $300,000 from free cash. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 5, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $10,655 to replace a boiler feed tank in the boiler room at the Memorial Park School or take any other action relative thereto? The emergency, the boiler tank is in disrepair. The Finance Committee recommends transferring $10,655 from the Host Community Trust Fund. All those in favor of adopting Article 5 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 6, will the town vote to authorize the water commissioners to take from the water undesignated fund balance the sum of $50,000 with a like amount from the town of Abington for the purpose of replacing the roof at the Myers Avenue treatment plant or take any other action relative thereto? The emergency, the roof has developed numerous leaks. It was evaluated and determined to need immediate replacement. The Finance Committee recommends to transfer $50,000 from the water fund balance. All those in favor of adopting the article signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 7, will the town vote to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds a sum of $515,000 to the snow and ice appropriation to assist in covering the deficit or take any other action relative thereto? The emergency snow and ice deficits allowed to be raised in the following year. However, it has been the past practice to cover as much of the deficit through transfers within the same fiscal year. The Finance Committee recommends transferring $515,000 from free cash. All those in favor of adopting the article signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 8, will the town vote to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds a sum of $3,900 to pay for the picnic tables to be located at Hartson Park or take any other action relative thereto? The emergency, the current tables are in disrepair and must be replaced before the summer season. Finance Committee recommends transferring $3,900 from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 8 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 9, will the town vote to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds the sum of $10,000 for the purchase of new and replacement Youth Commission equipment or take any other action relative thereto? The Youth Commission equipment is in disrepair and the program is expected to expand this year. The Finance Committee recommends transferring $10,000 from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 9 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 10, will the town vote to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds the sum of $60,000 to the Medicare account or take any other action relative thereto? The emergency, the required payroll tax account has run short for fiscal 2017. The Finance Committee recommends transferring $50,000 from the building maintenance salary line item and $10,000 from the Utilities General Fund line item. All those in favor of adopting Article 10 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 11, will the town vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum of money to be combined with grant funding for construction to assist in making buildings ADA accessible or take any other action relative thereto. The emergency, the town was notified recently the funding will be available for ADA compliant, and we all know that is Americans with Disabilities Act for construction. The committee recommends transferring $25,000 from the host community trust fund and $175,000 from free cash for a total of $200,000. All those in favor of adopting Article number 11 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. I would now like to entertain a motion to dissolve the special town meeting. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. A quorum being present, I will now call the annual town meeting to order. Mr. Allen.
I make a motion that that the first action of each budget and each article will be on the Finance Committee recommendation.
I have a motion and a second. First action will be that of the Finance Committee recommendation. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote.
And I make a motion to take all articles in the order in which they are printed.
I have a motion and a second to take all articles in order. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote.
And I also make a motion to reconvene this meeting on Tuesday night, May 2nd, at 7:30 in the same auditorium if needed.
I have a motion and a second that if we need another night of town meeting, it will be tomorrow night, Tuesday, May 2nd at 7:30 in this auditorium. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. All right. Turn to page 11. Article number 1. Obviously, we held the election on Saturday, April 8th. Article number 2. Will the town vote to fix the salaries and compensation of all elected officers in the town and the amounts indicated in the department budgets and make such salaries and compensation effective July 1st, 2017, in accordance with the provisions of the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 108, as amended, and to raise and appropriate such sums of money for the ensuing year, and that all sums be appropriated for the specific purpose designated, and the same be expended on for such boards and commissions for the town as voted, or take any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends that the article is presented. All those in favor of adopting Article 2 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 3. And you're going to have to go to the back of the book. You're going to get the whole budget. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take or transfer from available funds as indicated such sums of money necessary for the ensuing year in the department budgets or take any other action relative thereto? If everybody's got their page, begins with the Board of Selectmen. It was in the back of the booklet, the whole budget. Total Board of Selectmen, raise and appropriate. And we're doing, I should say, we're doing the far right-hand column on each page. Total Board of the Selectmen raise and appropriate $411,200. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Legal Services raise and appropriate $100,000. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Building Maintenance raise and appropriate $79,281. All those in favor signify with the show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Town Reports raise and appropriate $10,000. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Utilities, General Government raise and appropriate $515,700. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Traffic Light Control raise and appropriate $16,867. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. We don't have to read something that says zero. Total Finance Committee, raise and appropriate, $151,000. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Town Accountant, raise and appropriate, $202,546. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Assessor, raise and appropriate, $174,315. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Treasurer, raise and appropriate, $222,675. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Information Technologies, raise and appropriate, $151,723. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Audit, raise and appropriate, $47,000. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those, that's a vote. Total Town Collector, raise and appropriate, $172,168. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. The next item is that the town clerk, we have 2 votes we have to take. The total budget for the town clerk is $162,225. First, we're going to vote transfer in from dog receipts fund $2,850. All those in favor of that signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total town clerk, raise and appropriate, $159,375. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total town meetings and elections, $13,236. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total registrar of voters, raise and appropriate, $8,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Conservation Commission, raise and appropriate, $500. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Planning Board, raise and appropriate, $5,225. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Zoning Board, raise and appropriate, $5,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Police Department budget, we're going to vote it in 2 parts. The first one, transfer in from dog fund, $8,500. All those in favor of signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Police Department, raise and appropriate, $3,769,347. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Fire Department, total Fire Department, raise and appropriate, $3,318,923. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Building Inspector, total Building Department, raise and appropriate, $136,815. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Gas Inspector, raise and appropriate, $5,695. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Plumbing Inspector, raise and appropriate, $10,022. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Weights and Measures, raise and appropriate, $5,950. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Wiring Inspectors, raise and appropriate, $29,160. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Emergency Management, raise and appropriate, $1,500. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Tree Department, raise and appropriate, $141,155. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total School Department, $25,806,708. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Total Highway Department, the total budget for the highway is $943,800, but we have 2 votes. We're going to take from free cash $150,000. All those in favor of taking $150,000 from free cash signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. The total Highway Department, raise and appropriate, $793,800. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Snow and Ice Control, $150,000. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. Total waste collection, disposal, raise and appropriate, $1,384,118. All those in favor? All those opposed? That's a vote. The Water and Sewer Departments, the next two are going to have 2 votes. Water Department, from unreserved fund balance is $125,000. All those in favor of taking $120,000 from the unreserved fund balance signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Water Department, raise and appropriate from water receipts, $2,979,417. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Sewer Department, from sewer unreserved fund balance, $40,000. All those in favor of taking $40,000 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Sewer Department, raise and appropriate from sewer revenue, $2,362,259. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Board of Health, raise and appropriate, $128,327. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Visiting Nurses, raise and appropriate, $10,089. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Council on Aging, raise and appropriate, $198,517. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Youth Commission, raise and appropriate, $109,300. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Veteran Services, total Veteran Services, raise and appropriate, $402,025. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Celebrations, total raise and appropriate, $9,950. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Library, raise and appropriate, $581,516. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Park Department, raise and appropriate, $297,098. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Historical Commission, I assume this is raise and appropriate, Eric? $400. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Interest and maturing debt, we have 2 votes. We're going to take the fund balance reserve for bond premiums, $119,952. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total interest and maturing debt, raise and appropriate, $3,514,149. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Retirement contribution, raise and appropriate, $3,325,552. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Health insurance, we have 3 votes on this. First, the employees' group insurance, $6,258,095. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Transfer to the other post-employment benefits trust fund, $1,327,164. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. The total health insurance raise and appropriate, $7,585,259. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total Medicare expense raise and appropriate, $435,000. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Total liability insurance raise and appropriate, $950,000. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Whew. Article number 4, will the town vote to authorize or reauthorize revolving funds for fiscal 2018 pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, as amended for the following purposes? You have them all down here for a total of $545,000. Finance Committee recommends as presented. All those in favor of adopting Article number 4 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 5, will the town vote to grant the Board of Selectmen authority to research, develop, and participate in a contract or contracts to aggregate the electricity load of the residents and businesses in the town and for other related services independently or in joint action with municipalities, retaining the right to individual residents and businesses to opt out of the aggregation or take any other action relative thereto. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, by enacting Chapter 164 of the Acts of 1997, has established a competitive marketplace through deregulation and restructuring of the electric utility industry. Residents and businesses of our town have substantial economic, environmental, and social interests at stake and are interested in reducing their electric rates. If an aggregation of electricity load is implemented in our town, individual residents and businesses would retain the right to opt out of the aggregation with no penalty and to choose any other competitive supplier to stay with the default utility. The Finance Committee has recommended to defer to the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Chalker, are you going to, or Mr. Kimball?
We've talked about this, excuse me, we've talked about this at a few meetings, but this would place everybody basically in a joint purchasing pool across the town. This is a way for all residents to save $75 to $100 a year, if not more, on their own electric bills by pooling the entire community into one electric bulk purchase. Through the MAPC, the Massachusetts Area Planning Council, we've been able to participate with them as they've gone out for contracts, and this reduces everybody's bill. We do not know who the particular energy supplier would be at this point until we go out. However, it should reduce everybody's bill. If anybody wants to keep their own electric company or another electric company, they're free to do that at any time. If they get 3 months into this program, 6 months, they can get out. However, this should reduce every single individual in the community and businesses' tax bill. Not tax bill, electric bill. We'll get to taxes later, I'm sure. However, you can all get in or get out as you choose. However, this is an opportunity for all citizens through an aggregation program that was passed by the House 20 years ago. We just became aware of it this year by attending a meeting of MAPC.
Mr. Kimball, do we have a motion? Mr. Kimball the Chairman of the Board of Selectmen has a motion to adopt the article. Do I have a second? All those of adopting Article number 5 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 6, will the town vote to authorize the Water Commissioners to take from the water fund balance a sum of $15,000 for the purpose of continuing the survey and testing in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts drinking water regulations governing cross connections to our water system, 310 CMR 22.22, or take any other action relative thereto. And they're required to perform these surveys. Finance Committee recommends transferring from the water fund balance. All those in favor of adopting Article 6 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 7 was withdrawn. Article number 8, will the town vote to authorize the Water Commissioners to take from the water undesignated balance a sum of $50,000 for the purpose of purchasing water meters or take any other action relative thereto. This has been this is their ongoing meter program. The Capital Planning Committee has approved it. The Finance Committee recommends transferring $50,000 from water fund balance. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Town vote to authorize the Water Commissioners to take from the water fund balance a sum of $50,000 with a like amount from the town of Abington for the purpose of replacing the filter media and rebuilding the filter at the Great Sandy Bottom Pond Water Treatment Plant or take any other action relative thereto. It's aged and the filter needs an overhaul. The Capital Plan Committee approved this. The Finance Committee recommended taking the $50,000 from the water fund balance. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 10. Will the town vote to appropriate, borrow, transfer from available funds an amount of money to be expended under the direction of the Rockland School Building Committee to fund the cost of a feasibility study and schematic design for the Jefferson School, 93 George Street, Rockland, for which feasibility study the town may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority. The Massachusetts School Building Authority's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by them, and any cost the town incurs in connection with the feasibility study in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be a sole responsibility of the town or take any other action relative thereto. The Capital Planning Committee has approved this. The Finance Committee recommends transferring $800,000 from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 10 signify with the show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article number 11, will the town vote to authorize the water commissioners to take from the water fund balance a sum of $25,000 with a like amount from the town of Abington for the purpose of replacing a raw water turbine pump at the Great Sandy Bottom Pond Water Treatment Plant, to take any other action relative thereto. The pump is in need of replacement. The Finance Committee recommends transferring from the water fund balance $25,000. All those in favor signify with the show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 12, will the town vote to transfer $21,000 from the overlay surplus to the assessor's revaluation account for the purposes of continuing the cyclical reinspection program for revaluation as mandated by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue, or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends transferring overlay surplus. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 13, will the town vote to transfer $20,000 from the overlay surplus to the assessor's revaluation account for the purpose of completing the fiscal year 2018 interim year revaluation as mandated by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue. Take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends transferring from overlay surplus. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 14, will the town vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds the sum of $5,000 for the town's portion of a Green Communities grant for library lighting retrofitting, or take any other action relative thereto. Finance Committee recommends taking it from overlay surplus. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 15, will the town vote to authorize the sewer commissioners to take from the sewer department unreserved fund balance account the sum of $100,000 for the replacement of a main boiler at the wastewater treatment plant, or take any other action relative thereto. The existing boiler is over 35 years old and is in need of major repairs. This has been approved by the Capital Planning Committee, and the Finance Committee recommends transferring from the sewer fund balance. All those in favor of adopting Article 15 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article number 16, will the town vote to authorize the sewer commissioners to take from the sewer department unreserved fund balance account the sum of $100,000 for the replacement of the multi-fuel boiler in the digester building at the wastewater treatment plant, to take any other action relative thereto. The existing 50-year-old boiler is extremely inefficient and can't maintain temperature required for the process. This has been approved by the Capital Planning Committee, and the Finance Committee recommends transferring from the sewer fund balance. All those in favor of adopting Article 16 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 17, will the town vote to authorize the sewer commissioners to take from the sewer department unreserved fund balance account the sum of $100,000 to be expended by the sewer commission as part of the town's ongoing program to identify and remove sources of inflow and infiltration as required under the terms of NPDES permit issued by the town, by the United States EPA and the Massachusetts DEP, or take any other action relative thereto. The town is mandated by the EPA administrative order to have an ongoing inflow and infiltration program. This has been approved by the Capital Planning Committee. The Finance Committee recommends taking from the sewer fund balance. All those in favor of adopting Article 17 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 18, will the town vote to authorize the sewer commissioners to take from the sewer department unreserved fund balance account the sum of $100,000 to be expended by the sewer commission for the pump replacement program at the wastewater treatment plant, or take any other action relative thereto. Many of the pumps are the original equipment from 1964 and are non-repairable. The Capital Plan Committee has approved this. The Finance Committee recommends transferring from the sewer fund balance. All those in favor of adopting Article 18 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Will the town vote to authorize the sewer commissioners to take from the sewer department unreserved fund balance the sum of $25,000 for the purchase and installation of an influent wash press system at the wastewater treatment plant or take any other action relative thereto. This would improve plant process and eliminate a potential safety hazard. Finance Committee recommends transferring from the sewer fund balance. All those in favor of adopting the article signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $20,000 to fund the purchase, installation, programming, and enabling of an indoor and outdoor camera security system at the public library or take any other action relative thereto? The Finance Committee recommends transferring the money from the Host Community Trust Fund. All those in favor of adopting Article 20 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 21. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $82,000 to purchase and equip 2 police cruisers or take any other action relative thereto? The Finance Committee recommends transferring from the Host Community Trust Fund. All those in favor of adopting the article signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 22, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds the sum of $100,000 to pay for contractual paid buyout or take any other action relative thereto? Finance Committee recommends taken from free cash. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 23, will the town vote to take from Will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds the sum of $14,000 to purchase 1 police motorcycle, which sum includes the trading in of 1 existing motorcycle currently in use or take any other action relative thereto? The existing motorcycle is 5 years old and it still has a reasonable trade-in value. Finance Committee recommends transferring from the Host Community Trust Fund. All those in favor of adopting Article 23 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 24, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $10,000 to purchase 1 new speed trailer or take any other action relative thereto? The existing speed trailer is no longer serviceable. The speed trailer is placed at various locations through the town to educate motorists regarding their current speed and speed limit posted. The Finance Committee recommends transferring from the Host Community Trust Fund. All those in favor of adopting Article 24 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 25. Will the town vote to accept Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Section 20, for the purpose of establishing an other post-employment benefits liability trust fund and a funding schedule for the employees and their dependents or take any other action relative thereto? The purpose of the reason the GASB accounting financial reporting provision require government employers to measure and report the liabilities associated with other than pension post-employment. 7 benefits. The potential magnitude of the town's obligations for post-employment benefits needs to be measured to provide the town with the potential financial obligations for the future. The town needs to recognize the costs and benefits and determine the course of action in planning the long-term financial liability. The reacceptance of this Mass General Law is being required by the state at this time, and the Finance Committee deferred this to the Board of Selectmen.
The state is requiring us to basically just revote this. We already have this in place, but for some reason they decided that we need to revote this as well as another article that you'll be seeing tonight as well.
There's no monetary in this, is there?
There's no monetary value on this particular article. We've already put money into this when you did the health insurance budget, and we do that every year. They're just requiring us to revote it specifically this year as a separate article for this.
Motion to adopt in a second. All those in favor of adopting Article 25 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 26. Will the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to lease or sell 3.91 acres of town-owned land located at 0 Airport Road and designated on the Town of Rockland Assessing Map 7, Lot 4, in accordance with the Massachusetts general laws, or take any other action relative thereto? The Finance Committee is deferring to the Board of Selectmen. This is an article that was passed last year. Am I correct, Mr. Chalker?
Mr. Moderator, this article was passed last year. It was the intent to lease or sell. However, in rereading the article, or sell was left out of the actual article. It was just an oversight of some sort that did not get picked up in a typo, but we thought we would come back to town meeting to add those words. At the end of Airport Park
Before we
Drive-
have any more discussion, I need a motion on this article, and then we'll have discussion. Motion, do I have a second? Okay, now with your question, Mr. Mills?
At the end of Airport Park Drive, there is a parcel of land, and it's off of Weymouth Street, up in the industrial section. We've had a number of people that have been interested in the parcel. However, last year's authorization only allowed us to lease. There is we may be able to sell the land for a substantial return to the town. There are restrictions as to what we can do with the proceeds, which again, those proceeds and the expenditure of the proceeds, should we sell it, would have to come back to town meeting number one. There was another small provision, but we also have the option, if we don't get the return we hope for, to not sell.
Yes, sir. Hold on, you gotta, he's gonna come and state his name and address. Put your hand up, and I will call on you as we go along. You have
Thank
the
you.
floor. State your name and address.
Mike Bromberg, 373 Forest Street, Rockland. I just want to bring a little history to this property here. It was taken by tax title in the early 1960s, and it's been sitting there as forested, open space since then, at no cost to the town. The town last year voted for Community Preservation Act, so I'm a little biased here. I'm on the Open Space Committee, so I'm kind of interested in preserving this. And this is exactly the type of property that would be going after for that, so the taxpayers here, a certain amount of money out of the CPA would go into a fund to buy open space. This land is surrounded by conservation land right now. It's also listed as priority habitat by the state endangered species people. And so it would need more permitting if it was allowed to be built on. It might even cost the town money for rare species studies. There's also currently title problems with this parcel right now. And like I said, it's no cost to the town right now. And the other thing is, I think it's questionable when you have I think the townspeople need to know more about if it says for sale or for lease. Are we going to, it was entertained a couple of years ago or last year to lease it for $1 a month to a nonprofit. And what's that going to cost the town to clear the title for it? And what's it going to cost the town maybe to do studies on it? Et cetera, et cetera. So right now, it's free to the town. We own it. It's something the Open Space Committee, we didn't have a chance to talk about this article this year. But certainly, I believe that would be interested in keeping it. And I don't think there's much value to it. It is sort of landlocked on, I think, I can't see why the town would want to sell it. Supposedly, we're in good financial shape right now. And like I said, this would be money that our committee would be looking to use your CPA money to purchase at some point in the future. So I asked if you could pass over this article. Thank you.
Someone else wanted to speak? Mr. Kimball.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Ed Kimball, Chairman of the Rockland Board of Selectmen. The idea behind this article was to give the selectmen the option of leasing or pursuing to sell it. There's no deals currently on the table. The selectmen have been good stewards along with the Finance Committee and Capital Improvement Committee to go through and spend your money wisely and look at ways and avenues to create new growth. A portion of this property potentially could be developed in the future, which would bring new growth or tax revenue to the town to be used in other areas, as well as generate a percentage for CPA. Before you tell, you also have something about CPA for creating a committee for CPA, which will be a diverse committee from probably members of this audience. And again, any of those projects that are deemed by CPA would have to come before town meeting. The whole intent of this is just to see what we have out there. As many of you know, being on boards and things like that, you find out things as you go along. It's not like this was advertised. As Mr. Bromberg had stated, this was going back to the 60s, and it was taken by tax title. Currently, tax title is still being cleared by the tax title attorney for Rockland, just as many other cases are in Rockland. The whole idea behind this, again, is just to give the option so that the Board of Selectmen can look at it or entertain what they can possibly do with it for the benefit of the town of Rockland. And again, I ask you to adopt the article, support the Board of Selectmen. Regarding open space, we've supported open space in the past. In fact, last year at this meeting, we had changed some zoning, which overwhelmingly was unanimously supported. And open space was able to get 1,000+ acres of open space reinstated in an agreement with the people from Union Point, where previously was taken out entirely in the new legislation. So again, I think we have enough open space in town. We're still working to maintain what we have for open space, and this may be another mechanism that we could use to possibly fund it if need be in the future. Currently this year, Rockland's in great financial shape, but all of you can remember it wasn't 10 short years ago that it was a different story. So all we're doing is trying to be diligent and ensure that we have the tools and our the ability in the future, if we need to do something, we have those options. And timing's always something, so we ask you to support this. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak? Mrs. Parsons?
Mary Parsons, 754 Union Street. First, I would like to ask the moderator if you could ask people to come up to the microphone instead of shouting out from their seat.
I think I already did that, Mary.
Well, a couple didn't come up. I would like to say on this property, out there, if you've ever been out there, there are places where it's a dump, where there are tires, where there are issues, you don't know what the studies would have to be. So the issue is, when you say lease, who is going to be responsible for paying for any studies that need to be done out there? That's the question that's being asked. It's not clear in this article how that would go forward, and it's also land that's landlocked. I would pass over this article too. Thank you.
Anybody else before Mr. Bromberg?
Thank you.
Andy Tran, a fellow?
Andy Tran, a fellow. I've moved now, so it's 102 Garden Terrace. I missed that 80 Lincoln Road. I just want to say that we were looking at that land for a while. We wanted to put a dog pound in there. We're still thinking of it, and it looked good, but we should have a dog pound in the town. Hopefully we can get that for our little doggies and cats. Thank you very much.
Mr. Moderator?
I'm going to call him Mr. Khan first.
Donald Can, 64 Union Street, member of the Open Space Committee. One of our members of the Open Space Committee keeps an inventory of all the land that the town owns. This piece of land was acquired in 1963, and it's been on that inventory ever since. In fact, the Open Space Committee for a long time thought that indeed this was open space, and in recent times when it's appeared as an article at town meeting, we realized it wasn't. As Mr. Bromberg said, it has some problems. That is, problems for the developer. It's landlocked, it has vernal pools, and it's in the critical turtle area, the box turtle. And it's the type of thing that we would use the community preservation thing to purchase. So we have it. I would endorse keeping it.
Mr. Bromberg?
Just a couple other things I'd like to mention real quickly. Thank you. The Open Space Committee eventually did come around to help out with the rezoning of the air base, as Ed mentioned last year. So the town of Rockland received 40 additional acres of commercial land out there because of the rezoning, and we endorsed that. So that was a loss of 40 acres of open space that our committee endorsed. And according to the master developer who was at a selectman meeting, he did say that because of the building, because of the rezoning now, that the town of Rockland, when it's full built out, which is probably 10 years from now, will have a net income of $13 million a year for, so I don't really see what great gain the town is going to get from this property because, like I said, half of it's wet, half of it's protected, and I don't see a great gain, financial gain for the town. So, and the other thing, again, it's still up in the air having the word lease in there. We're going to lease it for $1 to a charity, a nonprofit, or we're going to lease it so the town makes some money off of this. So, it's up in the, to say that you need it for financial reasons for the town and then lease it for $1 doesn't make sense to me. I think we need more information on this article. So again, I'm going to ask you to pass it over. Thank you.
Mr. Chalker?
Mr. Moderator, just to clarify a couple of things, we already do own it, so CPA would not have to buy it. I am honestly not aware of the exact condition of the land. However, I do believe we have access to the property. I can tell the town that a very similar piece that abuts this property sold recently for $1 million. Now, I don't know about vernal pools and/or some of the other more spotted turtles on this particular piece of land, or if there are a couple of old tires. But that's something we would find out during our due diligence and whether or not it's worth it to the town. Certainly, it's not worth the aggravation to the town if we're only going to get a few $1,000s. But if it's $1 million, it goes a long way towards solving some of the concerns and needs of the town. It is 4 acres at the end of an industrial park. It would be another industrial lot, and so that instead of 6, you would have 7. It's a decision for the town at this point, but a building on that property would also generate tax revenue to the town as well as the funds realized from the sale. If it's not a good deal, I would doubt the selectmen would approve the deal. We already have the authority to lease. We've held off for a year with the intention of trying to come back for the sale. Thank you.
Mr. McKinley? Motion to move the question. Do I have a second? All those in favor of moving the question signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. We're going to now vote on the article. We have a motion and a second to approve the article as printed. This is going to require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of adopting Article number 26 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? Let's try it one more time. All those in favor of adopting Article 26 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? Chair is in doubt. My tellers will come forward. Nancy, you got here. Mary, you got the middle. Peter, you got the left side. All those in favor of adopting Article 26, keep your hands raised until the counter has gone by. If you're able to, Andy. Section 1, Nancy? 44, Section 1. Mary, Section 2? 42. Section 3, Peter? 18. All those against adopting the article signify with your hands and keep them up until the counter is counted them.
Peter's the counter.
Section 3, Peter? 14. Section 2, Mary? 43. Section 1, Nancy? 17.
They don't have it. Yeah. Fails.
104 in favor, 74 against. You voted not to adopt the article. Article number 27. You needed a two-thirds vote. Wait 1 second, we'll make sure.
That's correct. It did not make it. It did not.
We would have needed 120, 119. 474.
We needed 148. I'm telling you, there's no way. I counted them.
It would have required 104 for, 74 against, two-thirds would have been 119. You voted not to adopt the article. Article number 27. Will the town vote to supplement each prior vote of the town that authorizes the borrowing of money to pay costs of capital projects to provide that in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the general laws, the premium received by the town upon the sale of any bonds or notes thereunder, less any premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bond or notes, may be applied to pay project costs, and the amount authorized to be borrowed for each such project shall be reduced by the amount of any such premium so applied, or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose of this, the state is requiring the acceptance of this article to continue to use the bond premium funds set aside for supplementing annual payment of bonds. The Finance Committee recommends deferring to the Board of Selectmen. Motion to adopt. Do I have a second? And I believe, Eric, there's no money tied to this?
There's no money tied to this.
Okay.
Except for what's already been voted. This is another revote that the state is requiring.
All those in favor of adopting Article 27 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 28. Will the town vote to accept the Community Preservation Committee bylaw pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44B, as shown below, or take any other action relative thereto? I am not going to read this whole thing. The establishment of the, this is to make the Community Preservation Committee. There's 9 members. Yes, Mr. Chalker.
This is the, we have to establish a committee as a result of the passage of the Community Preservation Act. This is the makeup of the committee as is recommended by the state. Most communities accept this boilerplate committee recommendation.
And then we're going to have a member from the Planning Board, Conservation Commission, Historical Commission, Park Commissioners, Housing Authority, and 4 members at large appointed by the Board of Selectmen. Their duties are going to be the Community Preservation Committee will study the needs, possibilities, and resources of the town regarding community preservation. Under Chapter 4 of the amendments, this bylaw may be amended from time to time by a majority vote of the town meeting, provided the amendments would not be in conflict with Chapter 44B of the Massachusetts General Laws. The effective date following town meeting approval of this bylaw, the chapter shall take effect immediately upon approval by the Attorney General of the Commonwealth. Each appointing authority shall have 30 days after approval by the Attorney General to make their initial appointments. The rest of it is in front of you. The Finance Committee recommends deferring to the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Kimball? Motion to adopt. Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 29, which is going to require a two-thirds vote. Will the town vote to authorize the town, acting by and through its Board of Selectmen, release a utility easement held by the town in a certain parcel of land now or formerly owned by Tedeschi Realty Corporation or related entities located off Howard Street and as more particularly described in a grant easement to the town dated February 27, 1952, and recorded in the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds in Book 2194, page 372, and further to execute and deliver any and all documents necessary to effectuate the release of the town's easement or take any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends deferring to the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Kimball? Motion to adopt. Do I have a second? Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approving Article 29 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's unanimous. Article number 30. Will the town vote to authorize the town acting by and through its Board of Selectmen to accept by gift, grant, or eminent domain a temporary access and perpetual utility easement on land held now or formerly owned by Cousins Realty LLC and Tara Realty Associations LLC located on the northerly side of Market Street and further described in a plan by Environmental Partners Group dated October 2016 and labeled George Street Drainage Realignment, Rockland, Massachusetts. Tedeschi proposed drainage plan figure 1 on file with the town clerk, and further to execute and deliver any and all documents necessary to effectuate the release of the town's easement or take any other action relative thereto. The town agreed to seek approval to release an existing town easement in the land off Howard Street in exchange for the Tedeschi family business entities agreement to grant the town an easement of greater utility to the town. This is an authorization to accept that easement. The Finance Committee defers to the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Kimball, a motion to adopt. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor of adopting Article 30, I need a 2/3 vote. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Article number 31, will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds a sum of money to purchase streetlights or take any other action relative thereto? The Finance Committee recommends transferring $225,000 from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 31 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 32. This goes on for many pages. And many pages.
Motion to waive the reading.
And many pages.
Someone?
Article 32, to begin with, is going to require a 2/3 vote. Will the town vote to amend Article 4 of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaw by adding a new overlay district to the existing zoning districts entitled Downtown Rockland Revitalization Overlay District?
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Clifford.
I believe we're offering an amended main motion, which is contained in the handout that was given to people. So you can refer to that handout. I believe the speaker is going to address the specifics.
You should have, Brian, before you speak, you should have all got one when you came in along with your town warrant. At the top of it, it says Downtown Rockland Region Revitalization Overlay District. I need a motion first from John Lucas.
John Lucas, 136 Greenwood Street. At a public meeting hearing the planning board held on March 28, 2017, the planning board voted the following on warrant articles to be presented at the special annual town meeting on May 1st, 2017. Mr. Moderator, I'd like that statement to carry through for Articles 32, 3, and 4.
That's fine. Now, before we have any discussion, I need a motion, Mr. Lucas.
The planning board voted to accept this article.
Do I have a second? Mr. Hughes.
Brian Hughes, 31 Willow Pond Drive. Mr. Moderator, I have a motion to amend to substitute what was printed in the original warrant with what was handed out today. I have a written motion.
Okay, I have Mr. Hughes and I have Michael Mullen, that were members of the 40R committee, I guess like that for a short name. And you need to, I think, because of what Mr. Clifford said, we're going to amend the main motion. You need to speak and explain.
Good evening, everybody. This amended main motion deals with several technical changes that had to be made to the proposed bylaw as required by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. They are not substantive. Basically, it's tightening up some of the language to make sure that the bylaw that we vote on and hopefully passes will comply with what the state requires. The reason why we're doing this on the floor is because the state did not get back to us until after the warrant was printed. So they were a little late, and their changes were not expected. And like I said, it's not anything substantive that we would have known to discuss with the state ahead of time. So because of that, we're asking that the handout be substituted for what was printed in the original warrant, and is that the motion passes. Thank you.
Mr. Mullen?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and thank you, everyone here tonight for being here to consider this proposal. Before we vote like I wanted, we felt it was appropriate to give you a sense of exactly what we're proposing, because for more than the past 8 months, the 40-hour committee has been working to look at and to develop thoughtful policies which will help us help revitalize our downtown in ways that really combine together to really help advance our economic development and our housing goals. And since, I believe, the middle of October, we've had more than a dozen public meetings. We've had 2 public hearings, and there's also been a planning board meeting and hearing on this proposal as well. And really quickly, the zoning changes we're talking about here tonight really seek to provide businesses and building owners with another tool to bring good, sustainable commercial and housing opportunities at the downtown, thereby supporting new revenues and continued growth in our community. And I also, too, believe that these very same 40-hour provisions that we're talking about will also provide us with more tools to help address the challenges we face with preserving some of our older buildings as well. Equally important, we all know the challenges we have faced in town, especially over the past year and a half with 40B proposals, especially the one last year up off of North Union Street in the Forest Street, Loretta Ave area. And throughout that whole process, a lot of us have become very frustrated that the state and the state laws and the guidelines really place strict requirements on our ability to say no to developments that clearly aren't in our best interest. So together with the work of the Housing Partnership Committee, this 40-hour proposal will help address that, and it will help Rockland actually to make policies and to look at projects in ways that we feel will help really chart our own course forward, rather than having to rely on the state or a developer or anyone else to tell us what they think they should be here. So really, in short, the changes that we have proposed have really been done in a careful and thoughtful manner. At probably at least half a dozen of the meetings, we went down Union Street, and I just want to mention the scope of the proposed zone we're talking about is really only on Union Street. It's about from North Ave down a little beyond the intersection of Eastwater and Union Street. And but when we talked about what we're looking for as a community to get out of this, we wanted to be conservative. We wanted to be careful and thoughtful, because we all know Rockland. We all know what can work here. We all take pride in the downtown we have, but we also see a vision and we want to plan for the future, and I think we all owe it to ourselves and to future generations to be able to plan for the future too. And just in my work, like I've driven through downtowns. I'm in Reading, I'm Dedham, and Waltham, and a whole bunch of other communities. And I often hear, well, what do we want in our downtown? Well, first of all, I believe we want something, that we know can fit. And I think what we're proposing tonight, the conservativeness, we believe we can make fit. And again, as I mentioned, it's really a vision, but a concrete plan that we believe will be another step forward in helping address our goals and to continue moving forward as a community. So thank you, everyone. I just wanted to really give a summary, and I thank you for your time.
Before we have discussion, we're going to vote to see if we're going to vote to accept this amendment or not on the amended main motion, which is provided in the handout, before we get into debate. All those in favor of adopting the amendment of amending the main motion in the handout before we get into the debate signify with the show of hands. All those opposed? We've voted that amendment. Now I will have debate. Mr. Can.
My name is Donald Can, 64 Union Street. I attended the public hearings, and certainly this committee has done a lot of work, a lot of good work. And they expressed that this would, in the conservatives, not go into the historic district. However, it does. If you look at the map dips right into the historic district. So my amendment is a motion to amend to the overlay district 40R plan DRROP to go no further on Union Street than the boundaries of the National Register of Historic Places, Lower Union Street Historic District, as shown on the attached map provided by the United States Department of Interior National Park Service. It dips down. All I'm asking is you adopt this amendment. It's a small amendment to the whole plan, and it protects the historic district. This type of 40R allows that you could take buildings down and build bigger buildings 4 stories high. If someone in this district wanted to use it under the provisions of the act, they could. They would take down a historic building and add some more. Do I have a second on my amendment? Thank you.
You have a motion and a second.
Mr. Moderator.
Yeah,
Could I
Mr.
ask-
Clifford.
Could I ask that the gentleman provide a specific location where he's proposing to add this language? The gentleman has indicated it's a proposal to change the map. Therefore, I think that would be more in order for the next article, which is to adopt the map. So I'd suggest that this particular motion to amend is out of order.
Donald, the next article number 33 is to do with the map.
Okay, then I will reserve and come back during that period. Thank you.
Do you withdraw your motion, Mr.?
Yeah, if it's inappropriate to this article, yes.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else would like to speak on this article? Lady, please come down front, please.
Thank you. I'm Cinda Childs. I live at 24 Lancaster Street in Rockland. I have a question. It says downtown area, and that's whatever. Downtown does need some work. I agree with that. But why is that going to be used for that burnt-out factory? Why is that included for this new zoning?
The committee voted to add certain individual lots, such as the Park Street site, the shoe lofts, the artist studios, because some of them are frankly decrepit old buildings that need renovation. For example, Park Street. And this is a tool that might entice a developer to come in and redevelop those properties without resorting to a Chapter 40B project, which may not be as the most desirable option for the town. And with regards to some of the other ones, like the artist studios that already have been developed, we'd like to give them some options maybe to redevelop a portion of their properties and maybe alleviate some of the parking problems and other matters.
Well, when you're talking about downtown, it really doesn't incorporate those places. And I consider where the factory was Webster Street and Church Street. Now you're going to have a development in the middle of those homes which have had to look at a broken down factory a long time. And if this passes, wouldn't it allow for a 4-story building to be behind these homes?
Not necessarily
But it would give you the option.
Yeah, 3 stories.
Still an option to be a building like that.
3 stories now, though. It's not, on actual Union Street, there is an option to go up to 4 stories, and there are design standards that are in place in this bylaw.
Okay.
That they have to comply with, and the planning board would actually oversee it to make sure that any development is in conformity and in the best interest of the surrounding community.
Okay, I just didn't think that really fit, where the property that had the fire. It'd be nice if we could have like townhouses in there and not big apartments and stories. And
townhouse
already you're going to give 25% to people that are, 40B, correct?
No, it's affordable housing, not low-income housing. It's a big difference. Affordable housing could be a $230,000 townhouse in Rockland. It's not necessarily.
Okay, it just said how much you made, 51,000, you'd be able to get one of these places.
It's possible, but if the developer wants to go and put in a 40B project, they could put in many times the amount of units for the same standards, and we wouldn't have any control with regard to zoning or design standards. So
Okay, I will agree with you there, but I do think that when you said it should include that it's not just a revitalization of Uptown, it's other parcels too.
Yeah, just to select other parcels.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Mills?
Tom Mills, 67 Exchange Street. I have this map in front of me, and it shows, I take it that all the white boxes around it is a
Revitalization, yes.
Yes, if you look on the map, you have the yellow outlines on the parcels that are included in the zone. Almost all of them are on Union Street, directly abutting, and there's a handful.
Plain Street?
Yes.
Over here in Liberty Street?
Yes. Liberty Street, I believe, is an old abandoned building. Park Street is 2, Howard Street is 2, and they have the already developed artist studios and the apartment building right here.
Right, and these lots where the fire was over here on Park Street?
That's right here.
Okay, so that's what, when you refer to the map, that's what that is, right?
Exactly.
All right, so it's all over, it's there, it's not just down.
Mr. Hughes, you had a,
Mr. Moderator, I have another motion to amend the article. There is one change that the state asked us to put in, that it is substantive and not just technical. It is,
it's on page 17 of your book.
yes. Page 17 of the book has section 8.2.1 of the proposed bylaw regarding the minimum parking spaces for dwellings, 2-family, 3-family, multifamilies, as 2 spaces per dwelling unit. Current zoning is 1.5, and the state has asked us to keep it at 1.5. So we need to amend the article to just maintain that consistency. So with that, I'd make the motion to amend.
So, I have a motion and a second. So you all understand, the original motion, and this was legally told us that we had to have, even though we put the whole booklet in, they said that we needed to to make an amendment to go from 2 to 1.5. That's why we're going to have to vote this amendment. All those in favor of adopting the amendment, as Mr. Hughes just stated, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Seeing, is there any other discussion? This lady, I'm going to let her, then you can speak.
Marcy Conley, Belmont Street. I just have a question. Oh, sorry. I have a question. If the 40R, like I had asked the gentleman earlier, because originally in the paperwork and on the website it talked about 350,000. However, that's for 201 units to 500 units. So are we going to have 500 units or 201 units in order to get the 350,000 for the town?
Mr. Hughes, you can answer that.
And then with that, you know, what about the schools and the water? And will it all be the 201 units on Union Street, or will they be dispersed across the map?
Thank you. To clarify, this bylaw is not giving us any units. It's not producing anything, and it's not physically changing anything. What it is giving developers tools to put in housing units and mixed-use commercial spaces in order to help the town meet its housing production goals, which we're required to do. So the 200 units, 201 units, that is a measuring tool for the reimbursement money that's going to be paid out to the town. I believe actually we're going to be below the 200 units based upon any vote that might pass today. It could go up, I believe, in the future if we pass further bylaws in the future. And I don't have the hard number for the cash reimbursement. I believe it was over $200,000 as of right now.
Yep, it starts from 10,000 to 600,000, depending upon the unit.
And every time, and that's the one-time initial payment that the town is going to get. Every time a building permit is pulled for one of the units in this district using this bylaw, additional funds will be paid out by the Commonwealth to the town. But the initial upfront payment, if this passes today, is going to be over $200,000 to the town. With regards to water, school, utilities, this doesn't address that. Each department, each planning board would have a big say in that. Those protections that we have now are still going to stay in place. I guess planning would have the #1 role in overseeing that and making sure that developers do the right thing. I know we've had discussions with the water department, especially on capital planning. There's lots of water. Problem is getting it there, and any developer is going to have to deal with that, just like it would in any other project. What this bylaw is designed to do is to encourage the redevelopment of downtown and certain other selected parcels in a way that helps aid housing production and helps develop mixed-use lots in a in an intelligent way without overburdening a town with large projects with, where you can get many, many more units per square acre than what this bylaw would allow. So it's designed it's called a smart growth district. That's exactly what it's supposed to be, to
Right.
grow the town in a smart way and not haphazard, and also to keep some control over what gets put in, and especially with design standards, that it's not something the town would find undesirable. And essentially, it's a tool that gives developers more authority and more tools to develop their property while having the town maintain some control. Because if someone puts in a Chapter 40B project, the town essentially loses control. So I think this is a good bylaw to strike a balance between the needs of developers and the town.
Okay, because I was also thinking of transportation. All the towns that you mentioned, of the units and the buildings, are all in walking distance to the commuter rail or a bus, a company bus. We don't have the T, and we just have the one BAT bus. So by passing this, will we then open up to getting transportation for these 200 units?
That is not something that's addressed in this.
Okay.
It was that's outside the purview of the 40R committee. Right now, we're just looking at how do we encourage people to invest in the town in a way which is more consistent with the values of the town.
Okay.
Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion,
John Pumphrey, 325 Howard Street. Live right across the street from where the Park Street development. You guys did a nice job over there at the senior center presenting. I appreciate it. The fact that you're doing something is, I realize where the town's at. The 40B is not a good scenario. I personally am not happy about having big buildings potentially built across the street from my house, but I do recognize that 40R is better than 40B. That being said, I think the purpose of this bylaw is to get to the point where the town reaches our minimum standard for low-income housing. That's one of the purposes behind it, correct?
Yes.
So-
Affordable housing.
Affordable housing. Once we get to that minimum level, what happens to the bylaw? Does the bylaw sunset, or do you just what's the plan? Or are you gonna continue to allow large buildings and large developments and large residential developments just because they meet the 40R bylaw and you have the ability to do it? Are you gonna continue to approve those even though we're beyond our requirement for affordable housing? What's the sunset plan?
Thank you. The bylaw itself does not have a sunset, but as you see by the map, it is limited in scope. So if we, increase housing to the point where we meet our statutory requirements and the downtown district is, rebuilt and developed and is, the purpose of the bylaw has been carried out, unless there's a change to the map to expand the territory, there would theoretically be no longer any place to utilize the 40R bylaw. And going more directly, no, this will be on the books until town meeting changes it, just like any other zoning bylaw. There's no automatic sunset. And if there was, it would actually probably render some developments pre-existing non-conforming, which would be a problem.
And just the other thing I just want to highlight, once we reach the 10% threshold, then we have a complete control over what types of and where affordable housing I can go anyway. So once we reach that threshold, along with the site review planning guidelines in control that we'll have under 40R, and we'll already have that our site plan existing under these provisions, but then once we reach that threshold, we'll have additional safeguards and really I'll be able to pick and choose exactly what we want and where we want it and how exactly it'll work for the town. So I think both of those really, once we reach that 10% threshold, will really work together to really allow us to chart our own course, if you will.
Mrs. Parsons?
I just have a question about the parking. Are we reducing from 2 spaces per unit to 1.5? Is that what the state's mandating?
Yes, we're reducing the language of the bylaw from 2 to 1.5. We're actually at 1.5 now. So practically speaking, there will be no change in the bylaw going forward, just that the language of the proposed bylaw before you today was more restrictive than what is currently there, and the state wanted us to bring it down to 1.5 spaces.
Okay, because the parking in the center of town is an issue anyway, because it's a busy center of town. But I want to make one point. The 40B that was coming up on the north end of Union Street has absolutely nothing to do with this article, was never tied in, and when the new developer came to this project 2 years ago now, I met with him. He brought up the subject of doing something about taking away that 40B because he doesn't believe that housing should be shoved down someone's throat. Then it got to a point where we went to town meeting last year, And the issue was that the selectman had to speak in favor of his zoning, and the Open Space Committee had to speak in favor of the zoning so that he would make a deal with the developer on that 40B project. Thank you.
If we don't, is this going to be, sir, are you going to speak on one of the amendments? All right. Before you get up, we're gonna have a vote on the amendment for the park, and all those in favor of adopting the amendment that said we were cutting the parking from 2 spaces to 1.5, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? We already did that? All right. I'm sorry. Don't worry about it.
Hi. John Burrows, 393 Union Street. I'm one of the abutters of this project, and I commend the committee for the work they've done. I think having the smart growth makes a lot of sense for Rockland. There hasn't been much development in the town center. I think almost any in the 26 years I've lived here. That's been quite a long time since there's been new buildings. But the one thing that I'm concerned about is this was pitched originally to help the business district. It does insist on having ground level commercial spaces. But right now, the Rockland Center is almost fully occupied, about 65 businesses, small mom and pop businesses, small businesses. And as these buildings are torn down, there could be half blocks, whole blocks coming down, depending on who the ownership is. It will force out a lot of existing small businesses. The new modern rents might end up being like Union Point, where we have blocks of empty spaces. And so what I'm just asking the selectmen, imploring them to consider, you have a project coordinator assigned to help the developers, and I'm just hoping the town will consider going forward, if we vote on this, to have a project coordinator to help relocate businesses or find some affordable place for businesses to move that are priced out of being in Rockland Center. Thank you.
Motion to move the question. All those in favor of moving the question signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 32, as amended, which requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of adopting Article 32 as amended signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. It's unanimous. We have a motion and a second to reconsider Article 32. All those in favor of reconsidering Article 32 signify with the show of hands. All those opposed, you have voted not to reconsider Article 32. Article 33. This is a 2/3 vote. Will the town vote to amend the Town of Rockland zoning map as shown on plan on file with the town clerk by inserting those parcels of land shown on the map on file with the town clerk in the downtown Rockland Revitalization Overlay District, or take any action relative thereto? Purpose of this amendment is to amend the zoning map to show the new proposed smart growth district described in the proposed article establishing the downtown Rockland Revitalization Overlay District. The Finance Committee defers to the Planning Board. Mr. Lucas.
The planning board voted unanimously to accept this and recommend to go forward with it.
Do I have a second? Second. Mr. Khan.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I would reintroduce my amendment, a motion to amend the overlay district 40R plant map to go no further on Union Street than the boundaries of the National Register of Historic Places, Lower Union Street Historic District, as shown on attached map provided by the United States Department of Interior, National Park Service. And the logic is that if you move this 40R into the historic district, then there's more temptation to take down buildings in the historic district to get more money back profit. That's what it's about for this. And the people of this town are very proud of the work that was done to establish this, and are proud indeed of the historic district. Thank you very much.
Mr. Khan, I have a question for you. You're talking about the national, we don't have a map of the National Historic District, so. We do? They don't. Can you tell me where it's gonna, my understanding, and Mr. Hughes, you.
The historic district in Rockland starts at Union Street at the junction of Market Street, and on the east side goes all the way up until including the Hotel Thomas. And on the west side, it starts indeed from Market Street. It goes all the way up to the last house before the gas station that's now, a former gas station, that now is the place where you can get detailing and a new glass, the glass company. I'm not certain. Did I get a second? Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Mullen.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I respectfully ask on the audience not to adopt this amendment, specifically the parcels in the area that this amendment would specifically seeks to take out of the 40R district would be the parcels known as the Banner, and then the triple-decker right next door, and then the small little strip, I believe, Rose's thrift shop is currently there. And as I mentioned at the outset, when the committee was considering the map and what would, what we would propose in the proposed 40R district, we did so carefully and thoughtfully with an eye at looking at exactly what buildings were there, what were their current uses, but also how the history of those buildings as well. And one thing that I just want to make very clear, there's nothing in actually on the underlying zoning right here today that would prohibit like any type of building from being demolished or turned down or anything else. I actually believe a 40R districting designation actually allows and included in your warrant, like in terms of the design standards, actually the many tools in which building owners and developers can actually use, like if they own or want to utilize or repurpose a historic building, and in terms of the design standards that they'll have to follow, but also in terms of the other financial incentives that they'll really have access to again, like update, like a modernize existing buildings. Like in my work life, I've seen actually 240R buildings that I've worked on, which were old historic properties that were actually repurposed to the original architecture and the schematic design of the original building, and they look great. So I've seen actually buildings being repurposed using 40R, the incentives that actually come from that, and the health and the vibrancy that all that allows to happen. So I think in terms of the area right there, it's actually prime for that whole area to be within the district, so we can that intersection in all of downtown, if there ever are any opportunities to continue promoting vibrancy and other improvements, that we'll have the opportunity to do so. So I respectfully ask that the amendment not be adopted.
Thank you. Mr. Clifford, you have a legal.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. The map is actually identified by lot and parcel number. And I think if the gentleman wishes to exempt certain lots or an individual lot, I think the amendment would be more properly phrased in terms of taking out specific map and lot numbers. If you look at Article 34, if people wanted to look ahead to that particular article, the proposed amendment was in the form of adding lot and parcel numbers. So I think a proper way to amend this would be to take out certain map and lot numbers versus adding a different criteria, such as a historic district.
So are you telling us, legal-wise, that Mr. Khan's motion is out of order?
I think it needs to be phrased in terms of map and lot numbers for it to be effective.
Excuse me, sir. Mr. Khan?
Yes, I don't have it in my hand, the map, the properties and the property designations. If I could have that, I could call them out.
I only cited Article 34 just to show you the proper form for amending the map. So I'm not sure precisely what parcels you're discussing. So I don't know if you could identify them even by address.
I can't. I simply can't at this time. And I didn't know I had to do that to make an article, an amendment to the map. If you have that information, then I can call out the addresses.
I do not have that information. Obviously, we would not have been aware of the amendment prior to this evening, so.
Okay.
This gentleman.
I just want to correct one statement. Rose's gift shop, or thrift shop, has been closed for several years. Rose is deceased. It's occupied by a person that sells kitchen cabinets and remodeling of kitchens.
I want to let this gentleman speak. He had his hand up.
Yeah, Corey Welch, 54 Damon Road. I just want to say that I don't think we should be voting here on what we think these property owners should be doing in their property. We've had multiple meetings for this 40R overlay district, and none of those owners have showed up and spoken up. So I think who are we to make the decision for them? Second of all, the point I'd like to make is, from what I know, I'm in real estate. I own a real estate company. Any property deemed historic, before you make any change, has to go in front of the Historical Commission. So as far as I know, and these guys would be able to further clarify, is I don't believe there's probably anything in the 40R overlay district that allows a developer to come in and just tear down any historic property at will. So I believe there's already measures in here to cover a lot of his concerns. So that's just the point I'd like to make. Thank you.
Mr. Hughes?
Yes, just to clarify, yes, nothing in this proposed bylaw alter, amends, or in any way changes any of the protections granted to historic properties or any other, aspects of the property redevelopment rights other than zoning. Doesn't affect anything else. So if a building is restricted in use by some sort of historical standard, it will be after this passes. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator.
I'm gonna, with legal representation, I'm gonna rule Mr. Khan's motion out of order. Motion to move the question and seconded. All those in favor of moving the question signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. All those in favor of adopting Article 33, and it needs a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of adopting Article 33 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Article 34, will the town vote to approve an amendment to the proposed 40R overlay district on file with the town clerk to add to Assessors Map 39, parcels 243, 246, 312, 313, or take any other action relative thereto? The Finance Committee recommend deferring to the Planning Board. Mr. Lucas.
The planning board voted on this to unanimously not recommend this to go forward.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor of passing over Article 34 signify with the show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 35. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $49,641.38 for a seventh-year payment of 10 of the lease purchase of the 2011 1,500-gallon per minute pumper at the fire station, and said lease completed in 2021, to take any other action relative thereto. This is approved by the Capital Planning Committee. Finance Committee recommends transferring from Host Community Trust Fund. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 36, will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds a sum of $250,000 to purchase and equip a new ambulance or take any other action relative thereto? The Capital Planning Committee approved it. The Finance Committee recommends transferring the Host Community Fund. All those in favor of adopting Article 36 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 37, will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds a sum of $80,000 as the first payment for the lease purchase of a new ambulance or take any other action relative thereto? The Finance Committee recommends passing over the article. All those in favor of passing over Article 37 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 38. This is going to be a two-thirds vote also. Will the town vote to rescind Article 28 of the 2009 annual town meeting and transfer the Lincoln School property located on 1.687 acres of land on Church Street, Assessors Map 40, Lot 137-0-E, including all buildings situated thereon, from the care and custody of the school committee into the care and custody of the Board of Selectmen, or take any other action relative thereto? The explanation: this article would rescind Article 28 of the 2009 annual town meeting, the text of which is below. The school department does not intend to use this property for school purposes, and funding for school capital needs is now funded through the general fund budget or through borrowing. This article would permit the Board of Selectmen to determine an appropriate use for this property. The school committee supports this article. The article said the town unanimously voted to authorize the school committee to sell by competitive bid process the Lincoln School property, which we've already described, with proceeds of said sale placed in the School Building Capital Trust Fund pursuant to Chapter 113 of the Acts of 2008. The Finance Committee recommends approved as presented. All those in favor of adopting Article 38 signify with the show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Article 39, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds the sum of $15,000 to purchase 3 medications, intravenous infusion pump, now required by law to be carried on all ambulances, or take any other action relative thereto? The Finance Committee recommends transferring from free cash. All those in favor of adopting Article 39 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 40, will the town vote to amend Chapter 177 of the Rockland General Bylaws by replacing Article 2 as follows. Article 2, dog licensing. 177.4, all dogs must be licensed by the owner on or before May 1st of each year pursuant to General Law, Chapter 140, Sections 136A through 174E. 177.5, any person who violates this bylaw shall be subject to a fine of not more than $25 for each dog not licensed, or take any other action relative thereto. The Finance Committee recommends as presented. All those in favor of adopting Article 40 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 41, will the town, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds the sum of $1,956,264 for the purpose of repairing the Memorial Stadium and constructing a park department facility, and that to meet said appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow said sum under Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, or any other enabling authority, or take any other action relative thereto. In the original warrant, the Finance Committee was going to make their recommendation, which they did on the meeting of April 26th, last Wednesday night. It is approved by the Capital Planning Committee. The Finance Committee makes the following recommendation. Finance Committee recommends appropriating $1,956,264 by transferring $250,800 from free cash, $49,000 $200 from overlay surplus for a total of $300,000, and borrowing the remaining $1,656,264 for the purpose of repairing the Memorial Park Stadium and constructing a park department facility, and that to meet said appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow said sum under Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, or any other enabling authority, or take any other action relative thereto.
Two-thirds vote?
Right on.
Two-thirds vote.
Two-thirds.
We need a two-thirds vote for this.
Motion?
I need a... I have a second. All those in favor of adopting Article 41 signify with the show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. All right, all those in favor of adopting Article number 41 signify with the show of hands. All those opposed? It's two-thirds. Article 42. Will the town, Mr. Lucas, you going to be ready? Will the town vote to rezone any and all parcels of land on maps 14 and 8, lots 08-055, 08-018, 08-043 from R2 to I2, or take any other action relative thereto? Mr. Lucas.
The planning board recommends to pass over this article.
I have a motion and a second to pass this article over. All those in favor of passing over Article number 42 signify with the show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Now, Mr. Lucas, I'm going to, Articles number 43 through 51, you have a paper, I have a paper that said you held the public hearing on March 28th, 2017, and you can just explain that they've been, what the recommendation is.
The plan-
Article 43, will the town vote to amend Article 6, Section 415-45B, H3 of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaw by deleting the number 10 in reference to minimum height above the traveled surface of the bottom of a sign and replacing it with the number 8, or take any other action relative thereto. Purpose of this amendment is to lessen the minimum height above the traveled surface to the bottom of a projection sign, which is consistent with public safety and well-being. Mr. Lucas.
The planning board unanimously recommend to approve this article.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting Article 43 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. I'm sorry, I needed two-thirds. I missed it here. I'm falling asleep. All those in favor on Article 43 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's unanimous. Article 44, this will need a two-thirds vote also. Will the town vote to amend Article 6, Section 415-45E, additional regulations of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaw by adding the following, or take any other action relative thereto? Number 7, string flags, or pennant strings, or the like are prohibited except for the opening of a new business, which shall be allowed for 7 consecutive calendar days. Purpose of this amendment is to clarify that a temporary pennant string or flag sign shall be permitted during an opening of for the first 7 days. The regulation is to attend to allow a reasonable use of signs to advertise a new business opening, but to prevent such displays from becoming a permanent sign. Mr. Lucas.
The planning board unanimously recommended to approve this article.
I have a motion and a second. I need a two-thirds. All those in favor of adopting Article 44, signal. All those opposed, that's a unanimous. Article 45, will the town vote to amend Article 6, 415-19C concerning uses allowed by special permit in the H1 Industrial Park Hotels District of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaw by adding the following new category of use in the existing uses allowed by special permit, or take any other action relative thereto? We have number 18 is commercial recreational facilities such as bowling establishments, skating rinks, sports arenas, dance halls, or other similar facilities. Purpose of the amendment is to add a new category of uses allowed by special permit. As Rockland evolved and this district has changed, there appears to be a desire to add such uses as potential uses by special permit, where they would be subject to review by the town zoning and planning boards. Mr. Lucas.
The planning board voted unanimously to recommend the approval of this article.
I have a second? Second, okay. All those in favor, and I know that need a two-thirds, all those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's unanimous. Article 46, will the town vote to amend Article 6, 415-15C and 415-16C, the Rockland General Code zoning bylaw concerning uses allowed by special permit in the limited industrial zoning district and industrial park zoning district by adding as the next available number in each section the use medical dental clinics, and that non-substantive changes with the numbering of this bylaw shall be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the numbering format of the Code of Rockland or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose of this amendment is to add a new category of uses allowed by special permit in the limited industrial zone district and the industrial park zoning district. As Rockland has evolved and this district has changed, there appears to be a desire to add such uses as potential uses by special permit, where they would be subject to review by the town zoning and planning boards. Mr. Lucas.
The planning board unanimously voted to recommend the approval of this article.
All those in favor of adopting Article 46 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's unanimous. Article 47, will the town vote to amend Article 5, 415-22A1, parking access and egress requirements of the Rockland Code zoning bylaw by adding the following sentence at the end of the existing paragraph or take any other action relative thereto. All parking spaces designated to be used for the handicap shall be designed to meet the regulations set forth by the Americans with Disability Act and Architectural Access Board. The purpose of this amendment is to clarify the bylaws requirements for the layout and design of handicap parking spaces and obligate them to be designed in accordance with the federal and state regulations govern the design and layout of handicap spaces. Mr. Lucas.
The planning board voted to unanimously recommend the approval of this article.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting Article 47 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's unanimous. Article 48, will the town vote to amend Article 4, Section 415-13A3 of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaw concerning uses requiring a special permit in the business I zoning district by deleting the following: automotive service stations and repair shops, and that non-substantive changes with the numbering of this bylaw shall be permitted in order that it can be in compliance with the numbering format of the Code of Rockland or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose of this amendment is to eliminate automobile service station and repair shops as a use permitted by special permit. The effect of this amendment will be to eliminate the use in the district. Existing uses will be grandfathered and be subject to review as approval as pre-existing non-conforming uses and may remain unless abandoned or discontinued pursuant to the bylaws. Mr. Lucas.
The planning board voted to unanimously recommend the approval of this article.
Motion and a second to adopt Article 48 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Article 49. Will the town vote to amend Article 5, Section 415-35F2A of the Rockland General Code zoning bylaw concerning exempt vehicles allowing to overnight park in a residential district by deleting the existing paragraph as follows? A vehicle with 4 or 6 wheels with no more than 7 feet in height, not including ladder racks, regardless of how it is registered. Overall height shall be measured from the ground up to the highest point of the cab box body or the top of the cab protector when measuring a small dump truck, and replacing it with the following new paragraph as follows. A, 1, a vehicle that is designed with 4 wheels and is no more than 9 feet in height, not including ladder racks, regardless of how it is registered. Box trucks, converted ambulance, and the like shall not be exempt. 2, a vehicle with 6 wheels and no more than 7 feet in height, not including ladder racks, regardless of how it is registered. Overall height shall be measured from the ground up to the highest point of the cab box body or the top of the cab protector when measuring a small dump truck. And that non-substantive changes with the numbers of this bylaw shall be permitted in order that it be compliance with the numbering format of the Code of Rockland or take any other action relative thereto. Purpose of this amendment is to clarify what types of vehicles may be parked overnight in residential areas as an aid to enforcement against businesses being located in residential areas. Mr. Lucas.
The planning board voted unanimously to recommend the approval of this article.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting Article 49 signify with a show of hands. All those who vote, that's unanimous. Article 50, will the town vote to amend the Town of Rockland zoning map as shown on plan on file with the town clerk by moving the following parcel of land shown on the Rockland Assessors maps as Lot 26 and Map 9 from the H1 Industrial Park Hotel District and inserting into the R2 Residential Zoning District, or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose of this amendment is to remedy the inadvertent placement of a residential lot in the R2 Residence Zone in 2016 and into the H1 Industrial Park Hotel District. Finance Committee recommends deferring to the Planning Board. Mr. Lucas.
Planning Board recommended unanimously to approve this article.
I have a motion and a second. Do you want to speak? Oh, you're getting ahead of me. All those in favor? I need a two-thirds. All those in favor of adopting Article 50, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's unanimous. Article 51, will the town vote to amend the Town of Rockland zoning map as shown on plan on file with the town clerk by moving the following parcel of land shown on the Rockland Assessors maps on Lot 63 on Map 8 from the H1 Industrial Park Hotel District and inserting it into the I2 Industrial Park zoning district, or take any other action relative thereto. Purpose of this amendment is to remedy the inadvertent placement of an industrial lot in I2 Industrial Zone in 2016 into the H1 Industrial Park Hotel District. Mr. Lucas.
Planning Board voted unanimously to approve this article.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting Article 51, signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's unanimous. Article 52. Will the town vote to accept Sawmill Lane as a public way as laid out by the Board of Selectmen as shown on plans, a copy of which is on file in the office of the town clerk, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire by gift, purchase, eminent domain, or otherwise easements in any land necessary for laying out and acceptance of Sawmill Lane or other easements related to said Sawmill Lane, or to accept grants thereof, and further, to authorize the Board of Selectmen and other applicable Town of Rockland boards and personnel to take all related actions necessary or appropriate to accomplish the purpose of this article, or take any other action relative thereto. The purpose of this it should say article is to authorize the acceptance of Sawmill Lane within the Maplewood subdivision as a public way. The street has been completed in accordance with the approved plans, and this article will enable the street known as Sawmill Lane to become a public way maintained by the town of Rockland and thus able to receive town services. This is at the Planning Board of Mr. Chalker.
Do you want to
Mr.
make a
Lucas.
Planning Board recommendation?
The Planning Board recommends the approval of this with conditions, and Mr. Chalker has a condition.
Do I have a second?
We just have a couple of items that Highway Superintendent Dave Taylor has gone over with the property developer, but being the spring season, they were not able to do it. We have a letter of commitment for things like line striping and a couple of other things that still need to be done on the road, and we have that letter written out, consensus, and Highway Superintendent Dave Taylor feels as though we have the commitment we need.
Do you want to amend anything on this, Mr. Chalker, or are you just?
No, I'm just, in case there were people in the audience, I'm not quite sure who's who, but if they're in that neighborhood, there are a couple things that remain to be done. They've been pointed out, they've been addressed, and we do have the letter to complete the last remaining couple of punch list items on this road. We would recommend acceptance.
Okay. We have a motion and a second from the Planning Board to adopt this, Article 52. All those in favor of adopting Article 52 as a two-thirds vote? All those in favor? All those opposed? That's unanimous. Article 53, will the town vote to accept Cornmill Way as a public way as laid out by the Board of Selectmen and as shown on plans, a copy which is on file at the office of the town clerk, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire by gift, purchase, eminent domain, or otherwise easements in any land necessary for laying out and acceptance of Cornmill Way or other easements related to said Cornmill Way, or to accept grants thereof, and further to authorize the Board of Selectmen and other applicable Town of Rockland boards and personnel to take all related actions necessary or appropriate to accomplish the purposes of this article, or take any other action relative thereto. And the purpose of this article is to authorize the acceptance of Cornmill Way within the Maplewood subdivision as a public way. The street has been completed in accordance with the approval plans, and this article will enable the street known as Conville Way to become a public way maintained by the town of Rockland and thus able to receive services. Mr. Lucas.
Planning Board voted to accept and recommend the acceptance of this road with the same condition that Mr. Chalker went over for Sawmill Lane.
All those in favor of adopting Article 53? All those opposed? That's unanimous. You can sit down now, Mr. Lucas. Article 54 was withdrawn. Article 55, will the town vote to raise and appropriate a transfer from available funds a sum of $29,000 to purchase a Ford pickup truck for the Rockland Youth Commission Community Center for the transportation of supplies to and from the events at Hadza Park, or take any other action relative thereto? The Finance Committee recommends passing over the article. All those in favor of passing over Article 55 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 56, will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds a sum of $25,000 for repairs at the McKinley Community Center building, or take any other action relative thereto? The Finance Committee recommends transferring from overlay surplus. All those in favor of Article 56? All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 57, will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds a sum of $50,000 to upgrade the fire alarm system at the McKinley Community Center building, or take any other action relative thereto? Finance Committee recommends transferring $49,000 from overlay surplus. All those in favor of adopting Article 57 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 58, will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds a sum of $12,000 for the replacement of light bulbs at the Rockland Memorial Stadium, or take any other action relative thereto? Finance Committee recommends transferring from overlay surplus. All those in favor of adopting Article 58 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 59, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds of $18,800 for a new 2017 field groomer for field maintenance, or take any other action relative thereto for the Park Department? Finance Committee recommends transferring from overlay surplus. All those in favor of adopting Article 59 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed? That's a vote. Article number 60, will the town vote to accept from the Northeast Region National Park Service the gift of a parcel of land on Spruce Street identified as FOST-5C subparcel SP-SSE, shown as a portion of map 32, parcel 11 of the Rockland Assessors Map, or take any other action relative thereto? Finance Committee recommend deferring to the Planning Board. I'm not sure it was the Planning Board or the Selectmen, and it requires a two-thirds vote. Mr. Chalker?
When the Naval Air Station turned some land over, they had inadvertently left this piece out. It's along French's Stream, so they're just completing the transfer to the town, but it requires a town meeting vote. It's very small with very irregular borderlines, but it's just opposite the fence, I guess, up at Spruce Street. Am I seeing?
Where the
Mary
fence is.
Parsons.
I assume, Mr. Allen, this was recommend defer to the Selectmen? Okay. Mr. Kimball? I have a motion to adopt. Second. Mrs. Parsons?
I just wanted to tell you what this means and what it is. But if you want to adopt it, that's fine with me. It's finding a suitability to transfer. It's parcel 5C, but I'm assuming that this is the town forest park along French's Stream and is not part of finding a suitability to transfer 5C. That's the acreage along French's Stream west and east on the base itself. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson?
George Anderson, 355 Forest Street. I'm chairman of the Town Forest Committee. This is a very simple piece of legislature. What happened back in 2004, the National Park Service gave us 2.33 acres off of Spruce Street that connects to the town forest. Very simply this, they could not give us the whole thing. It's a 40-foot wide strip that goes from Spruce Street down to the end of the property. The reason they kept it, very simply, is they had to do contamination studies. They cleared it, it's done, and they want to transfer this last little strip of land to the town, and it goes under the town. It's part of the town forest. I would love everybody to vote for this. It's just part of the 2.33 acres. It's very simple. Thank you.
Okay, hearing and seeing no more questions. All those in favor of adopting Article 60 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's unanimous. Article 61, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds $100,000 to fund the replacement and upgrading of computers and any technology-related expenses or take any other action relative thereto? This has been approved by the Capital Planning Committee. The Finance Committee recommends transferring from the Host Community Trust Fund. All those in favor of adopting Article 61 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 62, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds the sum of $76,400 to fund the third year of a 5-year combined lease purchase for two 2015 Ford Transit special education vans and the second year of a 5-year combined lease purchase of 4 2016 Ford Transit special education vans and the first year of a 5-year combined lease purchase agreement of two 2017 Ford Transit wheelchair accessible special education vans or take any other action relative thereto. It has been approved by the Capital Planning Committee. Finance Committee recommends transferring from the Host Community Trust Fund. All those in favor of adopting Article 62 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 63, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $56,000 to fund the renovations, repairs, and purchase of equipment for the cafeteria kitchens at the Memorial Park, Jefferson, and Eston schools, or take any other action relative thereto? It's been approved by the Capital Planning Committee. Finance Committee recommends transferring from the Host Community Trust Fund. All those in favor of adopting Article 63 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 64, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $7,705 to fund the second year of a 5-year lease purchase agreement for a 2016 15-passenger multifunction school activity bus or take any other action relative thereto? The Finance Committee recommends transferring from the Host Community Trust Fund. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 65, will the town vote and to appropriate, raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $11,338 to fund the first year of a 5-year lease purchase agreement for a 2017 F-350 dump plow truck or take any other action relative thereto? Total purchase price is $55,037. This is capital plan approved. The Capital Planning Board approved it. The Finance Committee recommends transferring $11,338 from the Host Community Trust Fund. All those in favor of adopting the article? All those opposed? That's a vote. Article 66. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $100,000 to fund the repaving of the Memorial Park Elementary School driveway and parking lots or take any other action relative thereto? It was approved by the Capital Planning Committee. The Finance Committee recommends passing the article over. All those in favor of passing over Article 66 signify with the show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 67, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $13,015 to fund the purchase of mounting of emergency preparedness directories for all classrooms in the district or take any other action relative thereto? Finance Committee recommends transferring from free cash. All those in favor of Article 67 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article 68, will the town vote to raise and appropriate to take from available funds a sum of $50,000 to purchase a compact track loader with a snow blower and V-plow for the Highway Department or take any other action relative thereto? It's been approved by the Capital Planning Committee. Finance Committee recommends transferring from the Host Community Trust Fund. All those in favor of adopting Article 68 signify with a show of hands. All those opposed, that's a vote. Article number 69. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds a sum of $230,000 to purchase a street sweeper for the Highway Department to replace the 1995 street sweeper or take any other action relative thereto? This has been approved by the Capital Planning Committee. Finance Committee recommends transferring from free cash. Before I read the last article, I truly appreciate everybody, the Finance Committee, and everyone appreciates everyone that came out tonight. And it means we got a lot of work done in a very short time, and it's really helpful for the town, and I thank you very much. I know, I got one more. I figured you'd run out on me, Bob, before we did it. Yes, we did.
No, we didn't.
We didn't?
No.
Wow. I must be slipping. It's called old age. All those in favor of adopting Article 69 for the street sweeper. All those opposed? That's a vote. It's set in Article 70. Will the town vote to raise and appropriate or take from available funds a sum of $26,000 to purchase a tandem vibrating roller for the highway department to replace a 1982 tandem non-vibrating roller, or take any other action relative thereto? The Finance Committee recommends transferring from the host community fund. All those in favor signify with a show of hands. All those opposed. I'd entertain a motion to dissolve. All those in favor? Have a great night.